Hello, citizens of YouTube land.
Hey.
It's your
Hi.
president and your VP. Special shout out from the First Lady, as always. And we are back with another episode of our 12 Days of Christmas. This time it's Miracle on 34th Street Remake Edition.
Remake edition. I
Yeah.
thought it was just the remake.
Well, I'm just throwing it out there. Which premiered November 18th, 1994. And I don't know the budget because I didn't bother to research enough for that, but it is what it is. However, it made $46.3 million at the box office. And for those of you who are currently interested in that sort of thing, it has a approval rating of only 60% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Very
And
justified.
in this case, guys, I kind of agree with that assumption.
Yeah, I agree with that assumption as well.
So it's the screenplay was written, and it was written by George Seaton, who, guys, you may remember was actually the director of the original film
And the writer of the original film. Don't forget about that.
and John Hughes. So basically, what I can tell you right away is that with this remake, where it got Home Alone up. And I'll get into great detail as to what that is in just a moment. But first, a few of the cast mentions in this, and that being Richard Attenborough, which is your Kris Kringle Santa Claus in this version. Mara Wilson, who plays basically the little girl in this version, and Elizabeth Perkins, who plays her mother.
Wait, who's
And
the lawyer dude?
the lawyer dude was Dylan McDermott, and also JT Walsh is in this film as well. Some of you guys out there might know who he is. So yeah.
All right. With that being said, let's get on with it. The film basically opens up like the original film. And that is Santa Claus walking down the street, and then he stops by who we're going to see as the judge and his grandson.
Yeah, it's a little different than the original, as you guys might remember that in our description of the original, that he corrects the display of the reindeer in the department store, whereas here he comes across the judge, who is of prominence later on, of course.
Yeah.
And the little boy believes that he's Santa Claus, and he tells him flat out right away that's because he is.
Yeah, no. Like, instead of giving us subtle hints that he is Santa Claus throughout the film, like in the original Miracle on 34th Street, and this one, they just straight up tell you, yeah, he's Santa Claus.
So he's still walking down the street and is getting ready to see the festivities of the Cole's Thanksgiving Day Parade because Macy's.
So Macy's didn't want any part of this film, saying, as they said, because this was the spokesperson who said at the time, they said that the original film stands up on its own and doesn't feel like it needs to be remade. And if you include us in your film, we will sue you.
Which is crazy that they said that, guys, because in fact, there are multiple remakes, and we're just focusing on this one, guys, because we don't want to really get into the TV remakes. But there is a 1973 version that Macy's did put their name on.
Which I think that is the remake that they endorse, because there's two others before that one. But it's the 1973 remake that they endorse.
So anyways, he's at this Cole's Thanksgiving Day Parade. There is
not the other department store,
another drunk Santa Claus. And this Santa Claus is worse than the original, all right? First and foremost, he doesn't know how to crack the whip, just like in the original. But Santa Claus is showing him, I'm not supposed to say that, but yeah, let's face facts. It is what it is, guys. So... he showed him how to do the whip and whatnot. But then he tells the Santa Claus, hey, you're a drunken fool and a disgrace to the Santa costume. Basically. I mean, we're just coming out with like modern terminology here. But yeah, that's basically what he says. But then the New York law enforcement gets involved. And so the drunk Santa Claus is able to continue with his shenanigans. And in this case, it means his pants hovering around down by his butt crack. Sorry to put it that way, but that's just what's in the film.
Yeah, that's what they show
So,
us.
yeah, then his pants fall down. Then he gets his bullwhip wrapped around his feet, and somehow that causes him to fall backwards into the sleigh, which then slides down and then falls on top of him, just like a Home Alone trap.
Yeah, so this film heavily focuses on a little bit of slapstick comedy, which in the original film you could say it focused more on, I don't know, actual jokes.
Yeah,
Like Santa Claus chews bubble gum and then blow, because this is in the film, but he blows it and then it like pops all over his beard, and then the next scene you see him combing the gum out of his beard. That's funny. That is funny. Or like how he's teaching the little girl to be a monkey. That is funny.
but with a drunk Santa Claus telling the real one to kiss his you know what, they don't quite get to it because, yeah, it's an adult joke, but it's stuck in this family film. So there you go. And guys, I know, there has to be the adult jokes in the films, but
The original didn't have any adult jokes though. The
exactly.
original kept it family friendly without having to go into the adult jokes, because they knew how to write it just the way that they wanted to. And that's the reason why it's going to be a timeless classic, and it's still going to be talked about 20, 50 years from now, while this one will be forgotten.
Yeah, that's another point that you should make and bring up is that the 1947 version is on TV every year. This one is not. So that should tell you right there.
Yeah.
And furthermore, okay, so then the business lady who works for Mr. Cole and the department store is like, "Yeah, I understand that my Santa Claus sucks. Hey, will you do the job?" I mean, that's not exactly what she says, but yeah, she basically says that is like, hey, you'd be perfect. So he's up there and they're doing the parade and everything's great. The customers are flocking to Kohl's. Well, actually, no, it's not great because Shoppers Express, who is by now the variation of Grimble's department store from the original, because Grimble's had went out in 1987 out of business, so they replaced it with the fictional Shoppers Express.
Yeah.
The evil business tycoon owner of said department store has a real problem with the fact that they now have this Santa Claus. And furthermore, just like in the original film, this Santa Claus is like, hey, my department store that I work for here, we don't have these things that you're looking for. But you know what? You just go down the street here over to this department store and they got the stuff. I know, right? Like I said in the last review, imagine a company focusing on customer service. Shudder the thought. So, anyways, yeah, because there's the same type of scenario and scene where the mom, where a mother of the child comes up and says, "Yeah, my son wanted this slime gun, and we didn't, and you guys have it for like $99, but you pointed me over to this other one, and if you're willing to do that, I'm gonna buy everything but toilet paper and light bulbs here at
No,
Kohl's."
toilet paper and bananas.
Toilet paper and bananas here at Kohl's. So the marketing director is like, hey, maybe we're on to something. And so the two go to visit Mr. Cole, and he's basically like, yeah, you know what? This is a great advertising idea. And they proceed to do like they did in the original, and it attracts more customers. And Shoppers Express, evil business tycoon owner, he doesn't want this to happen. So they're looking for the loopholes. And they decide that they're going to go to the Santa Claus because basically they're going to hire him away from the competition, which is something that too often would happen in real life. So that aspect's pretty realistic. Santa Claus turns him down flat. And then we have the story of the lawyer in this version. And guys,
He got his name changed to Mr. Bedford instead of
mm-hmm,
Mr. Daly. I don't know why they changed his name, since they kept Mrs. Walker's name the same, but they changed his name to Mr. Bedford.
for some reason, he pursues the lady quite heavily, and I get that, but it's revealed. Okay, guys, don't ever do this. He asked this lady to marry him on their first date.
See, even Mr. Daly wouldn't do that.
I mean, okay, and all right, they're having their little powwow, their date, the girl and the lawyer, and Chris Kringle is babysitting, and then just out of nowhere, they kiss.
Yeah, instead of
It's
having
not a
it,
build up
and
like in the
yeah,
original film. It's not a courtship. It's just, oh, we're on a date. Let's kiss.
yep. No, because it's like in the original, it was a build up. They were building up to that. Mr. Daly. It's obvious that he's in love with Mrs. Walker, but it's like he's not going to straight up say, "Oh, I love you." No, he gives subtle hints throughout, and it's like, yeah,
Plus, the little girl's in on it in the original,
and
and
also in the remake,
but not as much.
not
I
as
felt,
much.
it's like I don't know.
No, no,
So,
she felt like that Mr. Daly was like the perfect fit for her mom, and he also agreed with that. So
so
yeah,
they, uh, one thing leads to another, and it's pretty much a beat for beat from this point of what happens in the original, and that he attracts all the customers to call. The Shoppers Express is all upset about it. They actually, in this version, had hired the old drunk Santa Claus, who then proceeds to goad
so yeah,
the Santa Claus
he points out like the young like elf girl, and it's like, oh, is she the one that like is she like your eye candy or something like that? I'm like, really, really, film,
and
really.
then later,
And then later, he's walking down the street. Chris Kringle is, and then the old drunken Santa Claus goats him into hitting him on the head with his cane, in which he really didn't do it that hard,
because he
because he
insinuates,
insinuated that that Chris Kringle likes little kids in a different way than he actually does.
yeah, because we can't actually say what he was implying, so there's that.
Yeah,
And then Chris bonked him on the head, and the
he
dude
didn't
was
actually.
actually faking it,
Yeah.
and he's put in Bellevue, and then he has to get his lawyer friend to help him.
Well, actually, no, it was Mrs. Walker who kind of said, "Hey, he really needs somebody to help him and to believe in him, and that person's you." But in the original, Mr. Daly just walks in and said, "Yep, I'm his attorney,"
Yeah, because they were roommates and friends. So they
because again,
proceed
they
with the
built.
trial, and the DA presents a pretty compelling case about why this man is mentally ill. And so, but on the same hand, the other lawyer presents a very compelling case as well. So it comes down to a conversation between the defense attorney and the judge, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure was completely illegal. If we're going on real life legal dramas and lawyer tactics,
It
that is
is.
actually illegal.
Well, actually,
But ignoring all that,
it was Mr. Bedford and the judge who had that
exactly, I
conversation.
know. But ignoring all that, he then plants the idea that if the federal government can recognize that God is a being that exists because we put it on our dollar bills, then obviously we recognize that Santa Claus exists. Yada, yada, yada. Happy ending for the Santa Claus.
Which is not as cool as a loophole that Mr. Daly was able to find in the original film, in which he said that since the U.S. Postal Service finds that Chris Kringle is since the Postal Service says that Santa Claus is real and that Chris Kringle is Santa Claus, yeah, no telemarketer, really phone. You gotta interrupt us like that,
Just go
bro.
with it.
Just go with it, guys. We're sorry about that.
So yeah, and the little girl, she wanted a house, she wanted a dad, and she wanted a little brother. Guess what? Because of Santa Claus, she gets all those things. The end. Happy ending. So sorry to be a little less descriptive, but guys, it was a remake.
Yeah, it's basically if you've seen Miracle on 34th Street, the 1947 version, you're basically just watching the same film except with some stuff added in and some
And
stuff
a
taken
lot more
away.
dialogue.
A lot, yeah.
Oh goodness, a lot more dialogue. As it's nearly 2 hours long, whereas the original was only about 90 minutes. So
It was an hour and 37 minutes.
there you go.
But it's like for one thing is like they got rid of the psychiatrist. They got
Mm-hmm.
rid of the friend that he
Jimmy.
makes. Yeah, or yeah, Jimmy. They got rid of Jimmy, who he makes friends with in the locker room at Macy's. There, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the janitor who dresses up as Santa at the YMCA.
Yep.
You know, they got rid of that, and then they added all this unnecessary dialogue that we don't need. You know, there's a thing called showing us, not telling us, and that's what the original did better.
So yeah, guys, it's decent enough, and if you're in the mood for it, sure, why not? But final rating for this one, actually 2 3/4 out of 5. What say you?
Yeah, 2 3/4 out of 5.
So yeah, it's kind of a take it or leave it. If you've never seen any version before and that's the only thing on, sure, check it out. But if the 1947's available, watch it instead.
Yeah,
Other
and
than that, it's available on Disney Plus, other streaming services, DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, all the usual.
well, actually, yeah, it's available on Blu-ray, DVD, VHS, all that good stuff. You know.
And so I guess, but of course, as always, if you've seen Miracle on 34th Street, 1994 remake version, and you believe that it is the worst Christmas movie of all time,
No, if you think it's the best Christmas movie of all
oh,
time.
right. If you think, I guess we'll go that route. If
Yeah.
you think it's the best Christmas movie of all time,
Have you
then
seen the original?
yeah.
Come on, guys.
Or It's a Wonderful Life.
Or It's a Wonderful Life.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Anyways,
Anyways,
with that being said, guys, up next is The Family Man, which is a Nicolas Cage Christmas film because jerk bones behind Silent Night, Deadly Night want us to pay for it. So you know what? We're going to be covering that one instead. And then it's Krampus, then it's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and then after that it's the 6 Home Alone films.
yep,
Why?
is what it is, y'all. Starting with, obviously, because we do things differently on this channel than other channels
We're
would.
going from
So
worst
we're
to
going
best.
from worst to best. And hey, if you haven't seen it on the community tab, of course, as always, join us on December 25th at 11 a.m. for the very special first ever
Live
live
version.
version of our show, which will indeed be Home
Home
Alone.
Alone.
So until then, guys, there's nothing else left to say except peace
Peace
and
and
love
love
from
from
Danny
Danny
and
and
Son.
Son.
Bye.
Bye.